Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Let's see. Mhm. Hello, hello, hello. Can I be heard? Can I be heard? All right. Uh huh. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I had to jump on live today. I wanted to talk to people about sinners. One, right? I wanted to talk about sinners and I wanted to talk about the absolute inspiration that I took from sinners. So, for people who don't know, I don't know how it's very popular on social media. It's a super popular movie right now. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, is a period piece slash vampire horror movie that I feel, and I feel like most people feel, the picturesque. period piece element of it is takes the forefront of the movie, and the vampiric element, which is also very crucial to the storyline, is kind of secondary. Like if you are scared of horror movies, I don't think that you would I wouldn't categorize this as like a definitive horror movie where it's like if you're afraid of horror movies, you don't want to watch this movie. I would hard disagree. I would say that so many elements of what makes this movie fantastic are worth, you know, um letting go of the fact that there are some scary horror movie elements, right? So I want to start with Ryan Coogler, who has been on or was on a press tour that I believe is integral to the success of this movie. Ryan Coogler's ability to, for lack of a better term, dumb down the language of film for the average layman who might enjoy movies but can't put into words why they enjoyed the things that their eyeballs and their ears were digesting. He tells you why in a way that I thought was amazing, and he does so much um talk and demonstration about not only this film but film in general, where you see that this man is a student of the game, but he's also mastered the game at a level that is so impressive. And then when you go see the film, you understand that he is demonstrating his mastery in front of you in ways that are brilliant, not just in what, in wardrobe and in style and in shooting, but in writing and symbolism and just this movie. I don't have enough good praises about it. But one thing that Ryan Coogler said on this press tour that spoke to me so deeply and caused me to want to make this live today, where I'm going to go through some black folklore. Just I wanted to have fun doing that because he told a story. I don't know what press outlet he was talking to, but he was saying how this movie made him realize something that brought him a little bit of shame, where he was so excited to go to Africa and see the motherland and go to the place where his ancestors came from. And I think he had said he's been to Africa a few times at this point, and he said he had never been to like deep south. He had never seen a cotton field, nor have I. I've never seen a cotton field. I've never even been to like deep south, anything south of really like the Carolinas. I've never seen a cotton field. I've never seen a like a those slave quarters or even a plantation house. I've never seen any of these things. But Ryan Coogler was kind of lamenting on the fact that I've never seen these things. And I speak about ancestors, and these people are just a few generations removed from me and are directly integral to so many black people being here. They're the foundation of black Americans today. People that had to go through such hardships and do it with a smile on their face and come through after a long work week. When you talk about working 40 hours in a hard day, and you want to get back, link up with the homies, go get a drink, go get some food. They had days like that, and I'd never seen that depicted in a movie. And I've seen a lot of movies. I'm sure there's a movie out there that somebody could tell me I haven't seen that does this, but I have not seen any movie that depicts post-slavery segregation America in a way that was anything other than hardship, depression, slavery, which are all real things that should be spoken about. But to take a period piece about Black America and it be a thrilling, fun, genre bending masterpiece, I think, I hope this starts a renaissance that more people do this, because I am so sick of the context of Black American being like there was slavery and then you guys are just pouring in ghettos. And I think that it's important to open the door up to Black voices, because I think that those directions are coming from studio heads that were white. And so they're like, well, when you want to make a Black movie, it's either like a hood movie or it's a slave movie. And I think that, Jordan Peele on a mass scale kind of, kicked the door open a little bit, but in a very sanitized way that was palatable. And Ryan Coogler delivering a movie like Sinners is like, I mean, he kicked the door off the hinges. He's unabashed about the message that he's trying to deliver, and he's doing it in a masterful way. This is not, let me not say this is not. This is a Black movie, but this is also a masterpiece movie. And I think that this movie is so important because a lot of times Black movie is used as like a pejorative to diminish the credit of the film, but there's no discrediting that you can do to this movie. It's beautifully shot. This is a Scorsese level of mastery of film and shooting and script writing. There's nothing that you could say about this movie that could diminish it by saying it's a black movie. So it's an excellent movie that is a black directed, black led movie. And I think that this will hopefully start a black film renaissance that inspires more projects like this. Now, to move on a bit, because I might have lost my point a little bit. What I was saying about Ryan Coogler and him saying about ancestors in Africa, and then this movie kind of making him understand, like, wow, there's so much history and so much more relatable um parallels to men and women in 1930s Southern America, sharecropping and things of that nature, and being loitering laws and all these things that were made and designed to put black bodies in chains to make them work for free right after 20, 30 years after already being in that situation under threat of death and violence. And now you're put in the same situation, but they found a way to manipulate the system as to where it's justified. There's so much more of a parallel there, and to call somebody ancestors there, then no disrespect, but to make that trek to Africa and see the motherland, and to not feel that it's just as important or just as inspiring or just as amazing to go down to Mississippi and see a cotton field where a man who was directly related to you in some kind of way, or a woman who was directly related to you in some kind of a way, broke their back for hours a day working for free, that it took him making this movie to go, wow, this is the motherland. And it doesn't have to be a place that we avoid, which I've spoken about on my podcast. Me and Fran have spoken about on our podcast, these flyover states and places I just don't feel the need to go to. Mississippi's on there, Alabama's on there, you know. Um, Louisiana, I'm more so, I was afraid of ghosts. I've come around on that a little bit more. I wouldn't say due to sinners, but maybe in part of sinners. I don't know. But Louisiana was on there. These places that are inextricably linked to slavery and colonization and exploiting black bodies. But there's also, as this movie centers, reaffirmed to me, there's a bunch of joy and love and culture and music that we take advantage of the fact that it exists today, but it had to come from real pain. People had to plant trees that they would never get to sit underneath and enjoy the shade from, just living for tomorrow, living for their descendants. And I don't think that the idea that people today are like, I'm not my ancestors, is so disrespectful. And all of these things, I've always had these thoughts, kind of machinations of them. But this movie, again, like I said, he was able to take a real line of thinking and communicate it through the medium of film in a way where I was like, I fully understand what you're saying to me as I'm watching it, and you're nailing it in a way where I went, these are so many of my thoughts that are polished and handcrafted and put in front of me in a digestible way, that I went, I've always thought so many of these things, and here it is in front of me being presented in a brilliant package. And so I wanted to come on here and just talk and just go take a little glimpse into black people's past in a way that is kind of centered around a black vampire movie coming out of post-slavery segregationist southern part of America. I thought that was such a brilliant concept. There's so many other elements and symbols that I could get into that I'm happy to get into, but I just really wanted to talk about and have some fun with you know um black culture and things that we've all heard growing up, if you're black, and if you aren't black, maybe you've still heard them, because cultures clash and cultures melt. It's a melting pot, this country. And so some of these same superstitions might be for a ton of different households, but I just know that I found this list from the 1930s that is a list, I believe, written by a white woman, that is kind of like studying and illustrating a lot of superstitions that she's found out through her research about black people or the Negroes, talking about black superstitions. And I thought the list was so, like, there's so many things. Like, step on a crack, you break your mama's back. A couple that I'll get into, other that are more popular than that, but just so many things that black people say. And one big element of this movie that I thought was beautiful, which I had spoken about with Lanisa Frederick from the Black and Cultivated podcast just a couple of weeks ago when I had her on, where I was saying, and I'm not the first person to have this thought. This thought has been articulated in many ways. better than I did even, and with more thought and research, but just about black Christianity and the fact that if you don't know or are unaware, this was a religion that was kind of foisted upon black slaves and has lived on through our experience in, this experiment of America, where black people have become the most religious and most Christian race in the country by like 70+%. Black people are identify as Christian and are staunchly religious, in everyday aspects of their life. But also black people believe in so many superstitions that don't really apply to Christianity, that go broader than Christianity. And I think that so many folklores and so many superstitions are kind of like residue from our, whether it's DNA, our ancestry, the dark corners of our minds that have, that have been passed down from generation to generation, believing in so many superstitions that I just never questioned, but just thought that everybody kind of, you just operate with these kind of um odd colloquial terms and odd, like, just weird superstitions, almost obsessive compulsive beliefs that you don't have, they're not based in any kind of fact, but it's just what you've been told and what you believe, and it becomes a part of your foundation, and it becomes a part of your belief system. Don't put your hat on the bed, just so many things. Don't put your purse on the floor, it's bad luck, your money will be taken away. So many things like that, that are kind of like the antithesis of Christianity, which holds itself as this moral, like, it's not hoodoo, and it's not weird um, rituals, which is total bullshit. I mean, if you've seen the Pope's funeral, Catholicism, which is kind of the steeple of Christianity, to me, I'm not a theologist, but like everything kind of Catholicism was kind of that's Christian, it's, whatever. Super weird symbolism and rituals and all these kind of things that are far scarier than anything that I've seen in some of my studies into like voodoo and, things that will be considered evil or dark sided, ritualistic Wicca, these other things where, I think that inherently black people, as in terms of like black people that are descendants of the diaspora. So going back to, Africa, the Pan African slave trade. Um, I think that there's a lot of ritual and superstition that is inherently in black people, and it all comes from a place. And as somebody who grew up in black America and just had so many of these superstitions as a part of my everyday belief system, my everyday vernacular, I never really gave any thought to where they come from. It just is what it is. It's just what you believe. Don't do this because this will happen. Don't say this because this will happen. Don't do this when it's like this outside because this will happen. And so I found this list and I was like, I just kind of want to talk about it because, man, shit, it's I think it's fascinating. And this movie, again, it inspired me to want to be fascinated by my history, and not just when we go, at least I can speak for myself as a black person in America. I think sometimes a lot of times white people get caught up in um your nationality and your 23 and me shit, the what are you, I'm the half this and half that. And a lot of times I think I can speak for a lot of black Americans where you just go, oh, I'm just from America, I don't have anything special, or my grandfather was from Virginia. But yes, my grandfather was from Virginia, and that means something. Like my grandfather's parents or my grandfather's grandparents are from South Virginia. Like they grew up in, they went through Jim Crow, they went through sharecropping, and not that far back. Maybe somebody that I haven't met, but not that far back. My grandfather's mother or my grandfather's grandfather experienced some kind of thing that I was so inspired by and enjoyed in the movie Sinners. And I have real life tethers and connections to people who had this similar experience, obviously not being attacked by vampires, but going through prohibition and trying to open up a juke joint and try to just carve out a piece of your own that you could pass down to your family, whether that be land or money or just, a name, a business, a storefront. Any of these things are real experiences that were had by people who are not that far removed from where I sit today. And the idea that I would just dismiss that, um is embarrassing. I will say that, like, honestly. I mean, I'm not crying about it, but I'm just saying this movie made me realize, wow, I think Smoke and Stack are super cool dudes. But how different are Smoke and Stack from a great grandfather of mine? I can't imagine they're that much different. And so for me to dismiss my ancestry to, oh yeah, I can't really go back 400 years, so there is no ancestry to go into, is yeah, something that I think a lot of black people who've seen this movie and enjoyed it and thought Annie was fun and she's a hoodoo priestess and all these things. These are all things that you may be directly connected to. You don't have to go back 200 years, 300 years. You could go back 65 years. You could go back to 1938. You could go back to 1946. You can go back to 1927 and you can find somebody who, maybe, I don't know, everybody's different, but maybe was born in America, is a third, fourth generation American. You might have so much lineage that is directly tied to America that you can connect to, and you don't have to just go, oh well, I'm not Jamaican or I'm not Dominican, so we don't have culture and we don't have, although I do believe, and not even believe, it's a fact that Black American culture is a culture that is consumed by all of the world. Is We have a culture, but I'm just saying, like, culture in the sense of a flag to wave, or traditional foods. And I think that we have let so much of the world tell us that we just exist, that we don't put a banner around the culture that has been created by people that were depicted in this movie, like Smoke and Stack and Annie and Cornbread. And these are real people, and these people created the music, passed down the recipes, bore the flag of America as they fought for this country. We might not have our carnivals or Jamaican pride festivals where we're winding and throwing up the Jamaican flags, but like, we have just as much claim to the American flag as anybody. And as a lot of times I think people see the American flag as a symbol of hate. So much of Black culture, and Black American culture specifically, was celebrated and birthed under that banner. And for good or for bad, there were terrible things that happened as Black people stood under that banner. But there are also amazing things that happen on American soil. And so for us to feel like a man or a woman or a person without a country, or a person without a home, it was to this movie, to me, drove that point home of like, no, man, you do have a home and you helped build this home, and you should have pride in the people who did that. Because you're right, you're not your ancestors. You could never survive or do so many of the things that they did. We're having a hard time complaining about the fear of tariffs. You know, imagine living under terrorism and having to get up every day and go to work, and get whooped. And then at the end of the day, you still on a Friday night go out, have some drinks, have some laughs, pass down funny stories, see the optimism in life, believe that there's a better tomorrow coming, even if you might not get to see it. Working towards a tomorrow that you might never see is a trait that I believe is missing in a lot of American people in general. And some of the most harshly treated Americans ever believed and fought for that principle. Tried to set aside, squirrel aside a little nest egg for their future descendants. Try to hold on to a piece of land that they could pass down to their children. These are the things that the people that were depicted in Sinners were trying to do. Now, I will get to this list because I just think some of this shit is crazy and funny. Sorry for rambling. I found this list. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Let's see. Share screen. Screen. Entire screen. Okay. Oh, shit's getting like fucking Inception now. It's getting trippy. Okay, so I had that up on. Uh, I had that up on Safari. Okay. So yeah, this is okay. All right, because it's getting confusing now. Let me just check and see. All right. Hopefully people can see this. Um. Also, shout out to anybody that's in the chat right now. I'm sure I'm rambling to myself, but I'm also practicing. That's the wrong thing. I'm also practicing just being better at like getting on streams and stuff like that. I think that this is a very useful way of communication, and I'm just trying to get my skills up at being able to one talk by myself and also uh fill any kind of silence or anything like that. It's just wanted to get some practice in on it while doing something that I thought was fun and interesting. So, all right, I found this list from 1936. This is a list of common superstitions in African American folklore in South Carolina, right? So it's a little hard to read. I will do my best, but it is a little blurry. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Okay. So again, this was published by a woman named Laura Middleton. I don't know her ethnicity, but based on the tone, it just feels very like observant. So I don't know if this is firsthand experience, but I could be wrong. Um, but back to zooming in a little bit, it says so yeah, it says folk customs and folklore. It says the Negroes are generally conceited with originating and preserving the superstitious signs which the writer has observed to occupy a real place in their lives. Here are some of the most prevalent omens believed in by rural Negroes and and the and the illiterate elements of the city Negroes of the Negro city dwellers. Now, I don't illiterate. I don't know if she meant illiterate. So, this person, it goes to show this person gets to write a thing. And I could be wrong. Maybe they meant these people can't read and they still believe all these things. I don't know, but that just feels like a weird placement. And also this conceited part here, I don't think that word was used correctly either, but I could be wrong. I just don't. That doesn't. It feels off. Like it feels like she was trying to get some extra points for using big words for a school paper and just threw the kitchen sink at the shit. And so I don't really. Those two words are weird to me. But anyway, here we go. Crazy list here. Some of these things I've never heard of, but some of them might have elements of things that I have heard of. And so I just wanted to, like I said, dive into it and kind of even speculate wildly about where some of this shit might have come from. So, first one on the list. If your right hand itches, you will receive money. If your left hand itches, you will pay out money. One I've heard 1,000 times. This is absolutely something I've heard. This is not a strange one or anything like that. Well, it's a strange one. I don't know where the hell it could come from. I don't know why uh, that could where that could have been birthed from. Like if your right hand is itching, you're gonna get some money. If your left hand is itching, somebody's gonna come and ask you for some money. Um, like I said, so this when you talk about some of the foundational Black citizens of America, hard times, as we saw in Sinners, I think I didn't even know about the idea of which I have not done any research in, but I intend to. It was so fascinating to me. The idea that these plantations or sharecropping farms or whatever they're called to politically correct them to make them not as offensive as a slave plantation, whatever they were calling them in the sharecropping era, apparently had their own currencies that they were paying out to Black people instead of actual money. One element that I thought was brilliantly portrayed in Sinners, where it really shows you the sin of gluttony and the sin of money, where Smoke and Stack, or maybe I think it was Smoke that was like, we don't want this. I don't want these wooden nickels. I want real money. But then Annie and Stack are like, hey man, these people work hard for this money. And they believe that this money is real. And if we as a community can believe in something, it can be so. So the idea that you're turning your back on your own people for the dollars of the colonizer. I just thought that was brilliant. I just thought that was such a brilliant way of showing that they're all sinners in their own right. Like these vampires might be sinners, but you're turning your back on the money that your people work so hard for. These people, you're from this town, and you're like, I don't want that fake ass money, but it's real to them. And they go out there and they break their back and they work hard for it, and you don't respect that. I just thought that was like, just to show you the dichotomy of like nobody's this inherently good person, but that doesn't mean that if you sin that you are a bad person. I just thought that was such a cool way to depict that, and they had so many moments of that in the movie where they're using dialogue to speak about a broader topic, but also the topic that they're speaking about on a microscopic level had so much real personality where you go, wait a minute, wooden nickels, why do they have wooden nickels and this kind of thing? And then and he's using it to say like, I don't want this. There's a broader conversation, but also it's like, wait a minute, wooden nickels, that's interesting. So many parts of that. So if you haven't seen Sinners, man, go check that shit out. I thought that shit was amazing. Anyway, continuing on. So the second one is, if a child cries suddenly, someone near or some near relative will die. Never heard this one. Although there is a lot of superstition with black people and like babies, and babies can, they're touched and they can see things and they have visions. And if they're looking over in a corner, it might be a ghost. There's a lot of that type of shit that I am familiar with. So there's a lot of stuff around babies and kids that, again, these might be broader than black people. These might be just a bunch of people can relate to these kinds of sentiments and these superstitions. But there's so many things that I just can speak about my own personal experience, seeing as a child and hearing as a child from adults that, again, are so antithetical to Christianity and this religion that we've been kind of has been forced upon us, and we've now, like in a battered relationship, have come to love it and cherish it and hold it up as our saving grace. But I just think that there is a whole element of history that we're not exploring, and I think, for me anyway, it starts with, why are black people so superstitious? You know, why are black people have so many beliefs that are just ingrained in things that aren't tangible, things you can't see, things you can't hear? And to me, that speaks to a connection to a higher body, but that higher body can't really be seen in with the tools of Christianity that we've been given. You I will continue. The third one on this list is, if you break a looking glass, you will have 7 years of trouble or bad luck. I think this is a one that is broad, but again, this paper is from 1936. Yeah, 1936. So again, we're talking about a person who is talking directly to, or secondhand information about black people in 1936 South Carolina specifically, as if this was something that was specific to black people and not just like a thing that everybody believes. But again, I know a lot of people, you break a glass, walk under a ladder, these kind of things are general bad luck omens and superstitions that I think broadly people believe. But it's interesting to see that one on here. This is one of the first ones that I'm like, yeah, this is across the board. But then there's a bunch of them on here that I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Um, so this next one, if a looking glass is broken itself, some near relative will die. So I guess they mean like a mirror, if it breaks on its own, someone near you will die. That's interesting. That's one I've never heard of either. So I'll move on from that one. Oh, here we go. If the right side of your nose itches, a strange woman is coming to the house, and and if the left side of your nose itches, a strange man is coming to the house. Now again, that's so specific that I couldn't even tell you or begin to speculate how something like, my nose is itching right now. My right nose is itching right now, and probably my left nose is also itching a little bit right now too, but definitely my right nose is itching as I'm speaking. And so that means, all right, if the right side of your nose, that means a strange woman is coming to my house. Now I don't know how, like, there's so many things. If your eye itches, you're gonna get a new puppy. Like, there's so many things of like, why are we attaching all these things to our self and our person and our feeling and the experience of being alive? That's what I'm so fascinated by, because you feel so many things on a minute to minute, second to second basis as a human being. Your eye itches, your nose itches, your hair itches, your elbow hurts, your stomach grumbles. All of these things happen, and there's so many things tied to the experience of being alive that I just think there's a deeper meaning there that I feel like this movie made me want to connect to or learn about on a deeper level, because Annie's character was so crucial to me, and speaking a language that I was not familiar about the hoodoo bags, or I can't remember what she called them, but just so many things that she was this local, she was a pastor, she was a shaman for her community, and people came and visited her for trinkets and for good luck talismans and safety prayers and all these things. And you go, and also there's another element of that I loved, which was that she doesn't take American money. She takes money from Haitian money, or wherever this money comes from. Again, somebody who's saying, the sin of becoming a slave to the dollar, I will not fall for that trap, like Smoke and Stack did. She's like, I just want to be here with my people and practice my religion and help my people. And I'm not doing it for money, but whatever money they have that they believe in, I will take that and I can get by with it. That was something that I was like, wow, there's so much to be said in that about the vampiric nature of capitalism. And it just, the movie's so deep, man. It just is, it takes so many things that are on the surface easy to understand, and then allows you to take that conversation and broaden it to today, current times, to go further back in time, to apply it to other religions, to apply it to other racial experiences. It just is, there's so many deep levels within stuff that is so articulated at a way that's easy to understand. But then if you're willing to go deeper into thought, you can extract so many more things and topics and discussions. It's a fucking great movie, man. I'm gonna go see it again soon. Hopefully, I heard it's coming back out in IMAX. I'm gonna go see that shit in IMAX with the big screen, with the extra, all that black stuff gone. Let me see what Delroy Lindo's hands are doing. That's what I'm trying to see. I gotta go see that post haste, man. This summer, I will try to see Sinners a few more times before it is on DVD or video on demand. I did pull up the bootleg um on one of my, I won't speak about illegal streaming situations. And the and I will say that because I've already patronized Ryan Coogler, I was intrigued. Let me just give full context. When I saw Sinners, I had to go to the bathroom at a very crucial point in the movie. um I ran to, literally, I'd never do this. I ran to the bathroom and ran back. I dropped my wallet. I had to turn around. Oh my God. People were coming out of another movie theater. It was embarrassing, but like, whatever. Like, why is this guy so excited to get back to the movie? Anyway, I ran to the bathroom. I ran back to the movie theater. I probably missed like 3 minutes of the movie. So when I got home, I pulled it up to go and watch that 3 minutes, which I'm glad I did, because the context that I missed was very important to the ending of the movie. I'm trying to do this without spoilers, but what I missed, I needed to hear, because if I didn't hear it, you just go, "Why is this the end of the movie? What is? I don't understand." So I missed a very big context moment um, in the movie, and so I went back to go watch it on my schmillegal streaming service. Those are all S's. I don't know, my schmillegal streaming service. Um, and it was terrible. So the at least on my end, I don't know if there's other people out there, but also if you haven't seen the movie yet, go buy a ticket first before you bootleg it, right? But the bootleg version isn't good yet. So I need to, not good enough for me to waste my time when I know how good this movie is. So I need to see it in IMAX, because I feel like that's the peak of the experience in which Ryan Coogler wanted it to be seen in. So I need to go see it in IMAX, and then I will have seen it at least twice, and then maybe I'll go see it one more time before it leaves theaters, and then I'll feel comfortable, legally watching it on a legal streaming platform. But I will also be buying this on video. Like, I will be buying this on my Apple TV account so I can own it forever, get all the extras. I want to hear all the Haley Steinfeld, Michael B. Jordan behind the scenes conversation. I want everything. This movie, I can't get enough of it. Anyway, we're gonna get back to the list. The right nostril or left nostril thing is insane. I don't even know where to begin with that. If a spoon drops while you are eating, someone is coming hungry, I guess, to your house. That is also, that's so ominous. Like, because I drop spoons all the time, but to take dropping a spoon and make it this, like, the world dropped this, like, the nature dropped the spoon for you, like some kind of Final Destination type of situation where the spoon just like was pulled from your hand because some hungry motherfucker is about to come to your house and ask for some food, and come and overstay, sleep on your couch, doesn't know when to leave. That's the kind of person I'm assuming, as opposed to some kind of like a homeless person, which would be sad. But I think I'm interpreting this as, some cousin or a friend who was coming over and they want to eat up all your food. That's what I take that as. And I drop spoons all the time. So again, it's something that just happens any time in a day, and there's been some kind of superstition attached to it. I was just so fascinated by that. And this is so common in Black households. I don't think a lot of the ones that I grew up with will be on this list. So I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent, but like, talking on the phone during a thunderstorm. Um, and another thing I'll speak about is the patriarchy has made men so afraid or dismissive of taking leadership and advice from women, especially Black women. They've kind of made this a silly thing, or like, when Kamala Harris was running for president, even though I have my own criticisms about Kamala Harris, but so much of what my criticisms were drowned out by men that were just like, this bitch can't be president. which is just sexist and terrible, right? But when it comes to superstitions or real leadership or the foundations of so many ideals that black people hold, they all come from black women. They all come from your grandmother, they all come from your aunts. These are things that are just believed in the black community, but men won't come out and just say like, oh yeah, so many of the foundations that I consider things that made me a man, I got from a woman. I think that's such a hard thing to admit, that like so many of my foundational beliefs came from a woman that I take leadership from. But it's not that hard, man, and it's not that crazy of a sentiment to believe that. But yeah, talking on the phone during a rainstorm, opening an umbrella in the house. What were some other ones? Some other ones that were just like, you know, I understood. Like, don't have my doors open or be coming in and out of the house in the summertime when I got the air conditioning on. These kinds of things. Um, Color in the chat is saying whistling in the house, which is like, I don't even, again, but whoever told you that, whether it was a grandparent or a mom or a dad, you didn't question it, right? You just, these things that we grew up hearing, you just go, okay, then that's bad luck. Taking my hat off and throwing it on the bed, terrible bad luck. I don't know why. Sometimes I come in the house, I'm taking my hat off. I might just toss it. I don't do it in this house. It's not going to get tossed on my bed. I might toss it on somebody else's bed because that's your bad luck now. You're supposed to stop me from putting my hat on your bed. It's not my job to not put my hat on your bed. This isn't my bed. I only protect my bed from hats. It's not my job to protect your bed from hats. Um, okay. Caller said, they said, as far as the whistling in the house is concerned, it says, well, because a lot of these men's fathers. Oh, got it. Okay, no, this is to my last point. They said because a lot of men's fathers aren't involved, so how could you learn it from another man? That's deep for sure. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. You're raised by a woman, but then and that's also, I mean, that's a deeper conversation that I'm not equipped to have. I mean, I'm equipped to have it in a sense that I was raised by a woman, but I'm not this kind of guy. But there's so many men out here today espousing red pill and sexist attitudes who were raised by women. And you can use that as an indictment on the parenting or whatever, but like, you were raised by a woman, you take your cues from a woman, and yet you don't respect women. That is deeply psychologically concerning, because I mean, like, you should be holding women up on a pedestal, because whatever you believe yourself to be was fundamentally molded by a woman, in my opinion. I give my mom all the credit in the world. If anybody who has respect for me or how I think, or the way I see the world or anything like that, I was exclusively influenced by black women. My great grandmother, my dad's mom, my mom, her mom, my great grandmother. I mean, it like, everything that I believe about how you treat people, it's whatever. Like, even like down to comedic timing, the way you tell a story, the way you tell a joke, it was all influenced by black women. Everything about me, and the idea that somebody could come from those same building blocks and like hate women or not respect women is baffling to me. But we live in a patriarchal society. But again, my point is, uh that so many of these superstitions are carried on and disseminated to the youth by women. A lot of them are the storytellers of our household, of our family tree. The women are these. They're the ones, and it might be such a small little thing that you don't even think about, but it leaves a mark on you. Like I said about talking on the phone during a rainstorm, opening an umbrella in the house. Even like down to, there's actually real scientific studies being done about this. But my grandmother used to just be like, "Oh yeah, it's probably about to rain because my knees hurting, my joints are acting up." That's so like, now you talk about science and like, what the conversation around that? Like, are we talking about generational, medicine men or medicine women, like spiritual specialists in the body? Why is it that that is, like I said, there's not a ton of like actual medical evidence, but there are studies being done right now. And I've heard that my entire life, just like understanding that when you get older, when it gets rainy outside, your knee might hurt. I don't know the science behind that, but why does my grandmother even have an inkling of that kind of thing being connected? My grandmother doesn't have any kind of science degree, medical degree. So if there's real medical studies being done, and my grandmother, this information was passed down, or whatever the case may be, she's telling me that she knows it's about to rain because her knees are hurting, you know? But you just go, okay, grandma. But now it's imprinted on you, though. That belief is imprinted on you. You now believe that, at some point when your joints, whatever, I don't know how it goes, time or whatever, at some point your joints will hurt when and that might be a sign of the weather changing. I just find out those to be so many fascinating things. I have more of like that are current and connected to me, but I'm gonna get back to the list. Um, Let me slide this over a little bit, and let's see if you're going to attend if you're going to attend to business and you stump your left foot, bad luck. That means it's gonna be bad luck, and you should turn back. Sure, you know. Again, and also I think a lot of this it comes from paranoia. And I can speak to talking about 1936 South Carolina. Now, if we're talking about this being generational superstitions, then my next point is moot. But this also could come from the paranoia of like living in America as an other, and especially as an other who was like public enemy number one. They wanted you in chains, they wanted you in shackles, they wanted you whipped, mutilating your bodies, hung from trees, and so you're always looking for a reason to not do something, which I think, in a lot of ways, obviously there's a systemic issue with black people, but I also think that all of that trauma has done such a good job, for lack of a better term, saying good job, it's a terrible in my belief in what I'm about to say, is it did such a good job in boxing black people into a prison of their own limitations, right? Them believing that, oh, yeah, I'm not going to go out for that job, or I'm not going to go ask for that raise because they'll probably just say no, or I'm not going to go do this because, like, well, I don't know, go hiking in the woods. No, no, bad stuff happens to us in the woods. All of these things that are true and have historical context, but it's now kept us in that box. I'm not saying that's not real, your fears, but I'm just saying the fears are much more powerful than the actual bad things that could happen sometimes, and that's systemic. There needs to be context around the things that were done to people that looked like you, and the generational traumas that are passed down through stories from your aunt, stories from your uncle, story from your grandmother, that make you go, well, then I shouldn't try to do that because I know what happens to people that look like me when we try to do those things. And again, all of these things were not communicated directly with exposition and dialogue in the movie, but I felt all of these things while watching Sinners. Goddamn brilliant movie. It's a goddamn brilliant movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you see anybody talking bad about Sinners, they didn't get it, or they just are being contrarian. Or more importantly, it's an experience that they can't relate to, nor do they want to. Because even if you can't relate to this experience, you should be fascinated at the storytelling in this. If you can sit through a slave movie and go, man, black people had it rough, sad, anyway, oh well, slavery's over now, then you should be able to watch this movie, see the parallels between 1930s Mississippi and today, and a lot of the things that they were trying to say, and be open to the idea of a unique experience that you are not aware of, touching you in a way that makes you think. And if you aren't willing to do that, I just believe you went into the movie to be contrarian, and you went into the movie to hate it and find something about it that, like, black people are overhyping it, or it's racist, or something like that. I don't know how you could do it. I really don't. But plenty of people have tried to do it, and I just don't think it's sticking, because the movies, it just is a cinematic masterpiece on top of all the things that I'm talking about. On top of all the things that I'm saying, it is a brilliant piece of cinema that I think should be nominated, if not win, a ton of awards during award season. I think it should be nominated for Best Picture. I think it should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Pick one. Wumi Masoka, Delroy Lindo. There's so many people who delivered incredible performances. Best Actor. I have been a person who has said, man, hey, I get it. Michael B. Jordan, man, he's in shape. He's a handsome guy. I don't believe a lot of his performances. I think that sometimes he's acting in movies. Like, you don't really feel him being present in the scene. I think that Black Panther, I don't think he nailed it. But the Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, he's been in the gym, man. He's been getting his reps in. I don't know who his acting coach is, but he went somewhere else. He put himself in this is a coming out party for Michael B. Jordan, as far as I'm concerned. And he's been around for a long time, making a bunch of movies. This, to me, this is like when I saw Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, when I go, oh, the handsome guy from all the like rom-coms. And then you see him do something where you go, oh, I didn't even know he had that in him. or Matthew McConaughey in the first season of True Detective, where you go, wait a minute, the pretty boy, this was that for me. Michael B. Jordan put on an incredible performance, man. He did a better job at this than Lindsay Lohan did in Parent Trap. And that's the highest praise I can give to somebody for being fake twins in a movie. It's the highest praise I can give to somebody for being fake twins in a movie. He surpassed it. The dude's goddamn amazing in the movie, and I don't consider him to be an amazing actor. He needs to put on a few more performances like this, but this completely changed my perception of Michael B. Jordan. I think he did an incredible job, and he should be nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. And there's more movies to come out this year, and somebody could put on a better performance. But right now, for me, he's a shoo-in to win, because there's not going to be a better independent movie, unique script that's not a remake or whatever, that's going to be as successful as Sinners is in 2025. I'm going to call that right now. That a movie that's not a Marvel movie, that's not a DC movie, whatever the hell, there's not going to be a more successful, one of one script to do what Sinners is doing this year. So he's going to be somebody who put on an incredible performance in a box office blockbuster movie. He should be a shoo-in for the award. That's my take on that. But again, like I said, there's just so many elements of this movie that speak to so many different conversations to be had with the history of Black Americans as it stands on the soil of America. And it's an amazing movie, man. Next one. If you're sick, it is bad luck to sit up on Friday night. I don't even know what that means. That might be using some language that has kind of died off, or some kind of vernacular or a way of phrasing things that we don't understand anymore. I don't think it literally means to sit up on Friday night. So that one I have no connection to. If you see shadows, you will hear of a death. Again, you see shadows all the time. This speaks to me to paranoia, man. Black people, just people dying all the time. You hear about people getting chased out of town, people's houses being burned down. I think so much of this comes from trauma. These like looking for signs that might not be there, but even if they are there, that they mean something. That's why Cedric the Entertainer, he has one of the most famous jokes in The Kings of Comedy. No, yeah, it was Cedric the Entertainer. About and a lot of people have done it. It's kind of like at this point kind of hacky, but for me, when I saw Cedric the Entertainer do it, it was like, oh yeah, this is hilarious. We can relate to it. Then 20 years later, people are still doing it, and it's kind of like, yeah, we get it. That's like the black comedian go to. But him saying like Black people will run when they see other people running and then ask questions later. This is like a foundational principle in Black community. I don't need to know what you're running from. If it's bad enough for you to start running, I will be running as well. We can talk when we get to wherever you're running to, because I'm going to keep running as far as you run. When you stop running, that's when I'll stop running. Once I see you are running, I'm going to run until you stop running. And then we can talk about what you saw or what you felt or whatever. So I'm getting this is very that coded. It's very Black people running when other Black people are running coded. A lot of these superstitions, which there's nothing wrong with. Fuck that, man. Better safe than sorry. So what's the next one here? If you hear an owl on the right side of the road, it's good luck. If you hear an owl on the left side of the road, it's bad luck. Sure, okay. There's a whole bunch of superstition and spookiness around owls for sure. So I kind of understand that. Owls have been considered a lot of bad omens to people. I think they're like the guides to the other world, the afterlife, or something. Owls are very prominent in so many different religions and texts in history that they've earned that them a black cat, crows. These are all things that have kind of earned omens, whether good or bad, for a lot of different religions all around the world. Here we go. Very specific to like Southern people. If you meet a horse on the right side of the road, it's good luck. And if you meet a horse on the left side of the road, it's bad luck. Another thing that this comes to for me when I hear so many of these superstitions is a history of Black people that are, specifically, Black people that were, descendants of chattel slavery and experiencing a lot of the atrocities in America, looking for the light, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or looking for, salvation or opportunity, and why I think um so many black people historically glommed on to Christianity, because Christianity promises you, like, hey man, you don't need to have money now. You're going to have six mansions when you die. So just keep giving us your money, keep giving us your time, keep working for us for free, and all of your goals and desires and all of your wildest dreams will come true when you die. Which again, I also think makes what's what makes Christianity so dangerous, because you are passing up on living for today. I have my grandmother right now. um she's battling cancer, and she's informed me my grandfather passed away about a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years ago. She informed our whole family at an anniversary party for them, because we do, like, or is it, it was his birthday party for my grandfather that passed away. She informed me that she had cancer and that she won't be seeking treatment for it because it's her body. She doesn't want to go through treatment, all these things, where I went, I have to respect your body, right? And I'm not saying this to say like my grandmother's being dumb and she's not trying to save her life. But my point is that I'm trying to make is, I don't know if my grandmother's ever been on a plane, right? So she is dying, and uh she she's not doing anything other than waiting to see her husband again, which I think is beautiful. But there's so many people who will have an experience like this and choose to not go live because there's life to be lived on the other side. And I just think that that's so that's heavy, man. That's deep, Like, there's so much life to live, and you could live it now and experience heaven on earth now in whatever small victories and small experiences that you can attain today. So I think that a lot of these superstitions of like, this is good luck, and if your palm's itching, something good's gonna happen to you. I think this comes from a people who, opportunities of prosperity and joy, at least joy on a grander scale. Obviously, family and having a nice dinner, these things are more attainable. But joy and prosperity at a higher level were so rare that they had to look for things that would motivate them and inspire them to go on and keep going through signs and omens that were, kind of uh throwaway things, like, your palms itching or your knuckles are dry or whatever. You're like, you're just that must mean something good's about to happen. I just think a lot of these superstitions that I'm reading on this list are like coming from that kind of mentality, which I understand for the time. And any time if you're having a hard time, you're gonna want to try to, man, I gotta see signs of a better tomorrow. I need to look for them and I need to believe in them. KD, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like life happens. She's lived a great life, and she's still alive and kicking. I'm gonna go see her for Mother's Day this weekend. I'm gonna take my son over there, and that's what I mean. Like, those are the kind of things. Like, let's go and enjoy. And I can't make her. I mean, all I can do is go over there and I take her out to go get dinner, or go take her out to hold my grandson, which he's very proud about. Being alive and getting to meet my son. But those are the things that, not that my grandmother, somebody was talking about mansions and fucking 1,000 dinners and a mansion in the sky and all these. That's not my grandmother. But I'm just saying those types of mentalities exist and like and infect a lot of, especially the last generation. I think I'm part of the generation of black people that are like, I'm more spiritual. I'm not turning my back on religion per se, but I'm not going to look for religion to be the salvation of like the things in my life that I can change through action, not prayer. I'm not saying prayer is bad, but I just believe that a lot of people in the generation prior to me and the generation before that and the generations that go back to this list, the 1930s, were using prayer and um religion as a solvent. Like, something's going to come from this, as opposed to, hey man, life is in my control and I do believe in a higher power, but I'm going to control what I can control today, and I'm going to go on that trip, and I'm going to go on that vacation. I'm going to take time from work, whatever it is. I'm going to go live, because tomorrow's not promised and I don't know what's on the other side. So I'm going to go live today. I'm going to go make as many experiences with my family today. I'm going to go have as much joy as I can today, because me giving you my last little bit of money when I could have taken my whole family to the Golden Corral and we had a nice dinner with each other and had a joyous time and communed as a family. I'm giving it to the church. And this is not a condemnation of the church. I don't want this to come across as that. I'm not trying to condemn the church. If you're religious and you're watching this, then God, more power to you. But I'm just saying some things I noticed in some of the superstitions that I'm reading. There's a lot of like, desire for a better tomorrow. There's a lot of fear and superstition to things that they can't control. I'm going to get back to this list because there's a few more. Um, and if you're watching this, if you've never consumed my content or anything like that, I am looking for feedback. I've never really done the live stream thing. Obviously, this is like a little bit different, so on YouTube or something like that. So if there's any critiques or anything like that, I'm looking to learn. I'm just trying to get better at broadcasting, get better at delivering my message. I'm trying to work on some of these ums and ers and just, you know, trying to get work that muscle of delivering a message in real time and filtering it while continuing to speak without needing to take big pauses and things like that. And it's a skill set that you have to work on. And this is my first attempt at working on it in this medium of like live streaming and talking directly to people. But I probably will take this video and condense it and put it up on Patreon or something like that. So any ums and ers that I do find, I'm probably gonna cut those motherfuckers out, man, because I'm a perfectionist and I like stuff to sound clean and concise. But when you're live, you can't always do that. But you can take steps to become better by practicing, getting your repetitions in, and just all those things. I will continue with this list. Um, if you're going out, I'm sorry. If you meet a squinty-eyed owl, again, owl. This is if you meet a squinty-eyed owl and it begins to hollow, which I guess is the noise an owl makes, which I never heard. Turn your pocket in. Here we go. Now we're getting to the OCD stuff. If you meet a squinty-eyed owl and it begins to hollow, which I guess again is a noise an owl makes, turn your pocket inside out and twist it around, and the owl will stop squinting its eyes at you. That is the most OCD thing I've ever. I don't even know. Again, obviously, this comes from like a fear of an owl and what omens they may be delivering to you. But this idea that there's a whole ritual to do to get the owl to stop is like so. It's so religiously coded and not Christianity. It feels like it comes from an old world belief. I don't think unless again somebody's grandmother just had OCD, said something to them, and then they just passed it on through generations and generations. Like the idea of a pocket being involved in any kind of a superstition, like so that means clothes and pants or whatever. It just is so. There's very specific and also a very specific encounter, even like a squinty-eyed owl. Who's to say what a squint is when it comes to an owl? Fascinating. If you're going out and turn back, make a cross on the ground. So I guess if you're going out of the house and you turn back, like you turn back, I don't even know that one. That's crazy. But that's obviously very Christian coded, a cross. At least I would imagine. It's bad luck to meet on steps. That's a new one. That's suspicious. I never heard of that one. That's wow. I don't even know what to say about that one. To meet on steps. Okay. Two persons or people looking in a mirror at the same time. The younger one will die first. Well, I guess I will never be looking. That one is chilling. Like there's some of these that are like, whoa, what the hell is that? Yeah, two people looking in a mirror at the same time. The younger person will die first. That's crazy. If a cold chill runs through you, a rabbit jumped across your grave. That's so fucking otherworldly, spiritual realm, other plane, like a rabbit, like my grave. Like, what do you mean my grave? Where's my grave? It jumped over my grave and then I felt that. That's also so like the visual of that is amazing. Like I want to see that depicted in a movie. If you get a cold chill, which we've all experienced this. If you get a cold chill through your body, it means a rabbit just jumped across your grave. So that's talking about like premonition, future events. There's a lot of shit there with that one. That one's a good one. Oh, that's creepy. Um, if you sneeze with your mouth full of food, it is a sign of death. It's a sign of fucking grossness, really. Oh, that's crazy. If you sneeze with a mouthful of food, so potentially the food could get spit everywhere. But they're saying that's not the point that they're making. If you do that, it's a sign of death. It's also a sign that you could die because if you have manners, your sneeze, you're trying to not let the food spit out of your mouth. So you might fuck around and explode your brain trying so hard to keep the food in your mouth when you sneeze, but you might fuck around and have some food come out of your nose. That's just dangerous in general, sneezing with food in your mouth. That could go real sideways. That could have some real dire consequences. I'm in fear of that situation. I hope that never happens to me or you. Anybody watching this, I hope you never have a mouthful of food and then the pollen starts to pollinate your right or left nostril. Those itches come from either side, and then you sneeze, potentially causing some kind of aneurysm or brain explosion or something like that. I hope that never happens to you, falls upon your doorsteps, and enters your life in any kind of way. Anyway, if a baby has the hiccups, if the baby have hiccough, that's first of all that's taking us back in time. Hiccough, is that what it originally was called? A hiccup? If a baby has hiccough, you put a straw in the baby's hair or a piece of paper on their forehead, and it will stop. That just ah, that is. I don't even know what to say about that. That's what I first of all I need to figure out what a hiccough is. So let's see. That's why Google exists, right? Uh, hiccough. Hiccough, an involuntary spasm of the diaphragm and respiratory organs with a sudden closure of the glottis and a characteristic sound like that of a cough. So yes, hiccough. So hiccup came. Is the word hiccup? Is it the word hiccup or hiccough? Hiccup has been the clear favorite between 1849 and 1949, of 400 years of hiccough. So yeah, hiccough is the predecessor to hiccup. Predecessor, right? That's the right word. Right? It preceded it. Um, uh, I might be. Did I use predecessor wrong? No, predecessor is the one that comes after. Hiccough is the one that preceded hiccup. No, is that the same thing too? I don't know words. Anyway, back to the list. I might have used those. Both those words might be the same thing. I'm trying to say hiccough was first, and then hiccup came second. I might have used the wrong word. Sorry. Um, I'm zoom back in. Let's see. If you want good luck, nail a horseshoe over the door with 2 points up, putting the nails on the right side. Again, this is like, what the fuck is this? Yellowstone? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to live by these rules. I don't have a horseshoes lying around. But it's just, again, 1936 in South Carolina. This is the kind of things that black people believe in. Let's see. If a dog is given to you, scrape his four paws on the back of the chimney and he will not run away from home. I mean, that's interesting. Like that's an interesting thought. Again, steeped in superstition and ritual, and I think that that's really fascinating and interesting. But I also am like, where does that come from? That's a wild belief to me. Um, where are we going from there? If a plant is given to you, never say thank you because to say so, the plant will never grow. Okay, well that's just rude. Sounds like a little bit of gaslighting there. Like there was somebody who was given a gift, they didn't say thank you, and then they're like, "Oh, just so you know," like a week later when the person comes and they go, "I gave you that money tree for your birthday, and you didn't really seem impressed by it, and you didn't say thank you." And then they pulled this bad boy out of like, "Well, no, 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 I just didn't say thank you because if somebody gives you a plant and you say thank you, the plant will never grow. And since it's a money tree, which are good luck, I don't want it to not grow because I want it to grow and I want to be prosperous. So of course I'm thankful to you, but I can't say thank you because it will never grow. So then they've thus avoided having to say thank you in that moment and in the past. And now also they've created a lie that you will then pass on for generations. And then there's a guy in a closet reading it on YouTube 100 years later. So yeah, that was gaslighting. I don't believe that one. That one is fully just a dude that was lying and trying to cover his tracks. Let's see. Next one. Never step over a bone, for it is bad luck. I don't even know what kind of bone. What about like duck bones, chicken bones, like food, or is this human bones? Any kind of bones? That's an interesting one as well. Don't step over bones because it's bad luck. What kind of bones are we talking? Let's get into bone talk. I don't know what kind of bones you're talking about, but I'm sure I've stepped over bones. That just feels like something that I've done in my life, especially if food bones count. Let's see. Next one. To put on a garment, clothes, on the wrong side, keep it on until 12 noon, then change it. So you got to walk around with your clothes on wrong and get chastised about it until noon. Again, this feels gaslighty. It feels like somebody came into work, their shirt wasn't on properly. You get called out about it. Everybody starts laughing. And then you make up a whole thing about why you did this on purpose or why you can't just take it off now and look foolish when people are like, man, turn that shirt around. Cause this is how what's the word I'm looking for? This is how like petulant and defiant and there's a more simple word I'm looking for. Um where you just refuse to be wrong. I can't think of the word right now. But like you're just like, I'm not gonna be wrong in this moment. I'm not gonna do it right now because you're telling me to. I'm gonna do it at 12 noon because that's the superstition. This feels very like that. Feels very like I'm going to I'm not going to do what you told me to, and I'm going to come up with a reason as to why it's valid. And the reason is going to be something you can't argue with because it's superstition, ghosts. So that's another gaslight one. Let's see, next one. Is it bad luck to transact business anytime on the 13th day of the month? Okay, so now we're getting to some Friday the 13th type of things. This might be the origins of Friday the 13th. I don't know, but like that's an interesting one. I don't know the connection to 13th, I guess, other than it being an odd number. Um, so yeah, that's also fascinating. Also goes back into superstition, paranoia, not wanting things, your opportunities to go awry. So you need to, you know, do some preliminary fluff to excuse why something might go bad. You can then have a built-in like blame or a built-in excuse as to why something goes wrong. Which I think there's an interesting psychology to that for all people because I think all people do that. Even if they don't use superstition to do it, they might go, oh, this is already going to go bad. I already know. I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm already predicting that it will go bad. And then you get to save face a little bit by being like, "Oh, I expected it to not work anyway." And that comes out of fear. Like, and that's a sad mentality of like, I'm going to always predict that the things aren't going to go my way, so that if they do not go my way, what could I ever have done? I can never, reflect or take onus upon anything because like it was going to go bad from the start. So I think as a society of people and human beings, we need to work on that, and taking accountability and those kind of things. But it's so interesting in this, like these people that come from this time of uncertainty, being behind the eight ball, never had owned your own business, only worked for other people's businesses for free under the threat of death or whatever, and then you take the bold step to try to open a lemonade stand or a juke joint like in Centers or whatever, and your fears of this going wrong because you don't have any experience in it because of the circumstances that you were put in, might lead you to think negatively or build in a bunch of excuses as to if it does fail, you go, oh, it was out of my control. There was nothing I could do to make this not happen because bad luck. I wore my shoe on the wrong foot or anything like that. So there's a fascinating psychology to this list to me in that regard for sure. Um, business. Never walk under a ladder. That's we can move on from that. That's like universal. But it's interesting that it's on this list. So I don't know if that came from black people. Did people steal superstitions from black people? I'm not gonna make that claim, but I just think it's interesting. I've seen two on here: mirrors breaking and walking under a ladder. Both, I don't know, coming from black people in South Carolina in 1936, as far as this list is concerned. To see a swarm of buzzards flying over a house is the sign of death. We've seen this depicted a ton of times in movies and entertainment. We've seen this depicted in Centers. Funny enough. So again, to see it, laid bare in this list is interesting. But yes, there's a scene in Sinners where there's buzzers flying over a house, and it is definitely to symbolize death. So that's become a universal symbol as well. Buzzards in general, but flying over something, that's just a sign of death for sure. For just universally. To see a flock of sheep is good luck, but to see a flock of I don't know a bushel, I don't know, what do you call a bunch of hogs? To see a flock of sheep is good luck, but to see a bunch of hogs, that's bad luck. I would never see either of these things. I live in a city, so this is very specific to a very it's very regional. Um, to hear a dove mourning is a sign of death in the neighborhood. So, again, I would have to analyze the lyrics of When Doves Cry, the Prince song, but that's also interesting. Like, what if Prince's grandmother told him this story about, if you hear a dove crying mourning, or, I'm assuming they make sounds when they mourn. If you hear a dove mourning, it's a sign of death in the neighborhood. Now, I, again, don't have the lyrics of when doves cry in front of me, but it will be interesting if that is a song about death or not just heartbreak or things that we attribute to Prince. But it's interesting. Doves mourning is a sign of death. Prince has a song When Doves Cry. There could be some interesting parallels between that song and that superstition. Um, if you see a star run, which I'm guessing is a shooting star, make a wish and it will come true. Again, that's become universal. I don't know if that's interesting. I don't know. Some of these are like, man, did black people think of this? If a dog is howling in the night, turn the soles of your shoe up and the dog will stop. Now, come on, man. We can't stop dogs from barking just because we turn our shoe upside down. I don't believe that. Um, it is bad luck to tell somebody your dreams before breakfast. So, like, you wake up in the morning, you had a crazy dream. Maybe it was a sex dream. Maybe it was a dream you became a rich person. You cannot say anything about it to anybody before you eat breakfast, or it is bad luck. That is another one where you go, huh, just again, the elements of dreaming, the spiritual realm, the a lot of people's like and a lot of cultures thoughts around what a dream is, and then there being barriers around your dreams and these things. That connects to me. That speaks to the same kind of oh, if you make a wish and you tell somebody about it, it won't come true. It all kind of connects in these paranoia, not I want my things to happen, I want my things to come true, but if I tell you about them at the wrong time, there's all these rules and stipulations around. If I do this, they won't happen, and it won't be well, it kind of is my fault because I didn't follow the rules. So there's rules for me to follow to ensure that good things happen. And again, that's just built in, like, to me, as far as directly when we're talking about post-slavery reconstruction era black people in the United States. There's a lot of desire for prosperity, there's a lot of paranoia and fear, and there's a lot of self-doubt where you go, there are a thousand reasons why this could go wrong that are out of my control. And so if it does go wrong, then I understand why. And all of these things are fully understandable coming out of what they have a one generation, a half generation removed from what they've experienced in this country. So a lot of these things I fully understand. It just is interesting in hindsight to look back and to have some kind of context of like what was the tension or what was the energy like of the times, and to go, I could understand how somebody could be paranoid, self doubting as far as the opportunities to succeed, and paranoid. I understand all those things. They're fully understandable things. And that was wait. Um, oh yeah. So when your mother dies, put a cross with soot on the youngest child. That's very Christianity based. And when a near relative dies, pass the children through the window over the casket. Now, that is just a very odd ritual, but it's also very Christian coded. I mean, a casket through a window, I'm guessing of a church. It doesn't say church, but like a casket. Now, I'm not saying, Christians and Catholics have the market completely, centered on caskets, but a casket to me is a very Christian symbol. I could be wrong about that. I'm open to being wrong and hearing people's thoughts, but yeah, I mean that feels very Christian coded, a fucking casket. Well, somebody said in the chat, Hush puppies were used to hush dogs, hence the name. What do you mean hush? Wait, no. Yeah, quiet dogs. Yeah, hush puppies were used to quiet dogs, hence the name. First of all, fucking whoa, you just blew my mind. Never thought about why they were called hush puppies. Then the food, why is the food called hush puppies? Were they eating the puppies after they hushed them, silenced them? What do you mean silence though? You mean hit the dogs? Or you mean turn the shoe upside down to then it be quiet? That's uh, I don't think I don't know. That's it. I mean, I believe it, but there's a lot of questions I have there. Wow, I'm stumped, man. Um, and I missed this from Color. Said, are these superstitions from the movie? I'm assuming. No, the ones that I was reading was from a list from. I can stop sharing now because I'm not reading the list anymore. The list I was reading was from somebody who wrote an article in 1936 in South Carolina about things that Black people or Negro city dwellers or rural Negroes things that they believed. Um, as far as the movie is concerned, there weren't really many superstitions that I could directly attribute to anything that I was saying. Obviously, there was a real element of like familiarity in Black culture with a lot of the references, but I can't say that there, other than like you know letting people in your house that strangers in your house that you don't know, that's not really a superstition, but just more so like the barrier of entry. I think a lot of Black people are hesitant about who you let in your car, who you let in your home. If I don't know you, nobody can vouch for you, those kind of things. And also the element of like um Annie's character, which I thought was amazing. Annie is the educated person about something. Annie's afraid. And so we're not here to be contrarian to Annie. Much like Black people, if you start running, anybody that's Black in the vicinity most likely will start running as well. I don't need to know the answer as to why you're running. We can figure that out later. Right now, you're running, I'm running too. And so I think Annie's character being like, "Oh, that's a vampire." Not for spoilers. I mean, there's not any. That's not any spoilers really. It's a vampire movie. But for Annie's character, played by Wumi Masuka, who was Masuko, who was from um uh what's the HBO show? Damn, it didn't get a second season, so it's not right. Lovecraft Country. Wumi Masuko, who is fantastic. I've seen her in a lot of stuff. She's so great. But her character is the paranormal expert. And so when she tells people in the movie, "Oh yeah, this is a vampire," first she says it's a haint, which again, I'm not sharing screen anymore. But I'm just gonna Google what a haint is. I believe a haint is a ghost, and I don't know what like culture it comes from. Is a haint. Haint is a word used in Gullah Geechee culture, which is from like New Orleans, deep south. So she was a Geechee, or Geechee hoodoo priestess, a very African spirituality. But haints are ghosts and evil spirits. So at first she says it's a haint, right? So she says it's a haint, and people are like, okay, cool. So it's something evil. And then she further, when she starts to recognize some other elements of these creatures in the movie, she goes, actually, no, it's a vampire. So we need to do this, this, and this. And nobody went, are you sure? Or what if they're just like on drugs? Everybody went, you know something? Hey, she said this is what we got to do. So this is what we got to do. And I think that's very coded in Black America. Like, I think that's very like a language that Black Americans speak very, very well of like, hey, man, I'm not here to, you said that so we're going to do what you said. And I'll ask the questions later because I'm trying to survive. You're running, so I'm running too. You know, I think that that's very coded in Black American culture. So, um, oh, I bet the hush puppies things. Bloodhounds that were sent to sniff them out when they tried to escape. Other dogs. Now we went somewhere else. Are you talking about slaves? Come on, GH. I need this. We're in a dialogue now. I need you. I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's the tea. What do you mean bloodhounds were sent to sniff them out? Sniff out other dogs or sniff out slaves? And is a hush puppy a reference to slavery, is what you're trying to tell me. Hush puppies were used to quiet dogs, hence the name. And then bloodhounds that were sent to sniff them out when they tried to escape. I, I'm moving on until I get an answer from GH as far as where we just went because I feel like we just went now to like slave catching, but I could be wrong. In summation, man, hey, one, learn about where you come from. If you don't come from a history of Black America, if you are Guyanese or maybe you're like what is it? Not Boricua. Like they're like Black Puerto Ricans. That's a thing, right? I'm not sure of the proper term. I don't know, but like or like a Black Dominican. What is it when you're Black in Spanish? What is the term? Either way, I don't know it right now. I can't think of it. But, like learn your culture, explore your culture, learn about these things. But specifically, if you have seen Sinners and you had the same, feeling as I did where you go, we keep talking about wanting to go to Africa and learn where we came from in Africa, which is of course noble. And I want to, I would love to learn if I'm Kenyan or Nigerian or, you know, Eritrean or whatever I might be, my lineage might go back to. But there are people no more than 3 generations removed who had experiences like Smoke and Stack, like Annie, like Mary, played by Haley Steinfeld, who had the one Afro Latino. Thank you. I don't know that, and I was thinking of, I don't know, I was trying to think of some kind of all encompassing word. Afro Latino. Yes, if you're both Hispanic, Black, you come from the Pan African diaspora, like there's a lot of knowledge to be done about where you come from. But for me, you might have had that feeling. You might be a quarter Puerto Rican, listen to the Bad Bunny album, and then you're like, I want to learn about Puerto Rico. For me, watching Sinners made me go, um, wow, I love these people that were trying to, make some money in prohibitionist America, open up a place for Black people, for us, by us. I love that FUBU reference in the movie. If you haven't seen it, but a lot of people have some issues with like the dialogue being too current. I don't think it was, but I do think there was some tongue in cheek moments where you go, hey man, look, a Black person wrote this, a Black person directed it. There's gonna be some little weak, anybody else does that in the movie. It's called an Easter egg. Now Black people do it. It's like, man, that's not realistic. I thought it was dope that he said for us, by us. The juke joint's gonna be for us, by us. I thought that was dope. But if I think Smoke and Stack are dope, or I think that Delta Slim is dope, or I think Cornbread is dope, I think all these people are dope. There are people that are directly, their blood runs through my veins that probably had a similar experience to these people outside of being attacked by vampires. But for me to, skip over that to a desire to go somewhere else to find somebody who has a connection through a third cousin from 250 years ago, when I could go back and learn about my great great uncle, who I maybe could find a picture of, might look just like my dad, or my great great grandmother, who I could find a picture of and they might look just like my son. I'm ashamed that I never thought to give and pay the homage to the people who had such a hard go and laid so many seeds down for people that they didn't get to meet, and all they had in their thought was, I'm going to have myself a little piece of land for people whose last names Johnson, Thompson, Williams. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to deal with these people's racism. I'm going to let them say some things, and I could haul off and smack one of them in the face, but if I do that, they might come back and burn down everything I built. So I'm going to smile, and I'm gonna take it on the chin, because I'm working for my family 3 generations from now. I want them to have a plot of land they can come to and call home. And I'm just, and how hard that is to save money to get a deed of land as a Black person in 1930s, post slavery Reconstruction era, deep South American soil, man. These people did those things, and they did it with a smile on their face, and they did it while having family dinners, and they did it while putting on dope clothes. As we saw, the Met Gala was kind of inspired by this, close to this era of fashion. Like, all of these things came from people who had to deal with some of the most horrid violence that you could ever see laid upon people, having their genitals cut off, being cut, hung from trees as people ate popcorn. Horrible and horrific things. And this movie, while it paid homage to, it told those stories, it did it from a lens of like, but still I smile. And I thought that I've never seen a movie do that before. If you're gonna watch a trauma porn movie about Black history, it's gonna be from the perspective of slavery and how white people saved us, and how then but then you gotta think about, oh, they saved them today, but then the movie ends and they still gotta run for the rest of their lives or whatever the case may be. This movie didn't do that. It talked about it. It shined a light on it, but it did it, and it also talked about just how dope it is, and how awesome it is to find joy in a circumstance of such darkness. I thought it was brilliant from that aspect, and I will also say the idea of being Black in this time, and then I don't want to say that because I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but the idea of being Black and and becoming a vampire potentially, and then having to travel through the cover of night through uh, deep south, deep south parts of the United States. When you know a little bit of history, you don't even have to know that much, but when you know about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroads and these things, you go, oh wow, like yeah, traveling only seeing the night, not getting to exist in the daytime because you're on the run. And maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe Ryan Coogler didn't make that parallel, but but guess what? Based on his press tour that he did, where he did so many interviews and podcasts and talked about this movie, I don't believe it's an accident that I'm coming to that conclusion based on the cinematic language that he put in front of me. I don't think that's an accident that I'm going, wow, yeah, man, this is like post-slavery. They show us people in chains. They show us people that were being part of like indentured servitude, which was the way that they flipped slavery on its head. And then when you become a vampire as a Black person in deep South America or deep South United States, you have to then try to escape harm by traveling in the dead of night. So there's a lot of elements like that in this movie that I just thought were amazing and communicated in a brilliant way. I'm going to be seeing this movie again really soon, hopefully in IMAX if they re-release it on IMAX, which I hope they do. And yeah, man, I just wanted to talk a bit about uh, the history of Black Americans. In a light way. We didn't go too deep. I wanted to have some fun and talk about some fun stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for hanging out with me, obviously. Um, and yeah, man, I just think that there's a lot of history that is unknown, and it's not always because they don't put it in the books, it's because we're not reading the books, you know so both of those things can be true, but I will try to make a concerted effort to pick up more books and learn about people who laid the foundation for me to be here today in this country, even in a time where a lot of that progress is being attempted to be rolled back. I think it's more important now than ever to acknowledge it when it's being buried. So this movie was amazing, and it was a homage to people who are our family. And whether whether in the sense of America as a whole, as a country, these are fellow citizens who experience something that should be talked about, or as a Black person, literally, there are people in this movie that if you thought that the way that they dressed or the way that they talked or the way that they roll a cigarette is dope, that's you. There's somebody in your family with a similar experience to Preacher Boy or to Smoke or Stack or to anybody in this movie. That's a whole experience that is not that far removed from where you stand today. So I encourage anybody who hasn't seen Sinners, Color, go get on that. Um, uh, also, Color the Rapper, go listen to their music. Like I think they're gonna be on my Spotify top 5 this year. I would not be surprised. I've been playing so many of their songs on repeat in the car. That it's getting warm outside. Like the shit is knocking. Um, KD said it was a very good movie. I'm dying to see it. I know what you're trying to say. I think you're saying I'm dying to see it again. I'm so proud of these young brothers. Yes, absolutely. I thought it was a great movie. Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, the guy who plays the Sammy, for this to be his debut in a movie. And again, I'm no spoilers. He could be nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his first role in a movie. His voice is captivating, not only when he's singing, but when he's speaking. I couldn't take my eye off him, man. And he's a part of a scene in this movie, a musical sequence that I think people will be talking about. If we're around 100 years from now and movies are still a thing and cinematic, analysis is still a thing, A scene from this movie will be talked about 100 years from now. I can guarantee it. Because it was bold, it was avant-garde, it was risk-taking, it was they didn't it was just a brave thing to do in a movie, especially when it's a period piece. You're already adding this element of like vampires, and then to be like, I'm gonna do all that, and we're gonna go even more weird and obscure and out of the realm a bit of reality. We're gonna step outside of the box of reality even more in a horror vampire movie. I'm gonna take some time to do some art that is stepping even further outside of the realms of reality, but is beautiful. I think people will talk about that scene 100 years from now. I'm not going to say what scene it is because people haven't seen the movie, but that's the kind of things that are happening in this movie. I think generationally amazing moments of cinema take place in this movie on top of all of the great things that are just there on the surface of like the acting and the scary and the vampires and the music and all these things. There's so many sub layers to this movie. And then, in the context of like, you can put it in the context of films in general, because no disrespect to Friday, which I think is one of the best movies of all time to me. I don't think, not to put white people to be the standard bearers, but when you talk about what is the mainstream, when you talk about mainstream movies, I don't think Friday gets brought up with Animal House and fucking National Lampoon's Vacation, but it should be. You can't do this with Sinners. You can't say, well, it's a black movie, like, it's funny and everything like that, but it's kind of like a hood movie, or it didn't have the budget, or it's kind of like a black movie. Sinners, you could put up there, I would put Ryan Coogler's direction in this movie up there with Scorsese, Tarantino, Wes Anderson, anybody who they would say are the go-to guys for movies and world building and all that stuff. Sinners is right up there with these movies. Sinners is right up there with these movies. This isn't a black movie. Like, this is up there with Christopher Nolan movies. Like, this is an incredible piece of art. And it's not just an incredible piece of black art for black people to enjoy and a bunch of inside black jokes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not here to be like, you know, um, disrespectful to hood movies or, classic black movies. That's not what I'm here to say. I'm here to say you can't deny this movie. Anybody who's trying to deny this movie is being contrarian. This is an undeniable piece of art. It's not a fun black movie. It's not a whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is a piece of cinema that you could put up there with a lot of movies that people deem to be some of the best movies of all time. And while I've only seen it once, I've seen enough movies to know that. There are some movies on my list of movies that the first time I saw them, I went, oh, this is one of those movies that people are going to talk about for a long time. I felt that way about Gone Girl. Um, I felt that way about like Kill Bill. Felt that way about a lot of Tarantino movies where you go, yeah, this is just like the right time for this movie. It's saying all the right things. It's visually this. I said this about the Grand Budapest Hotel. Like, I mean, I said this about a lot of movies. Or actually, no, I haven't said this about a lot of movies, which is my point. Where you go off the first watch, I say, yeah, no, man, this is just objectively a phenomenal movie that people are going to talk about for a long time. So, yeah, man, thank you guys for giving me some of your time. And I will hopefully try to do more of this live stream thing to work this muscle out and get better at talking in real time. I think that it's a great muscle to work, and I want to be a better podcaster and a better content creator in 2025. And so you have to work to get better. And so this was kind of one of my first little gym sessions. I'm glad you guys could come and spot me. I appreciate it. You guys be safe. And if you haven't seen Centers, get out there, man. Go see it. And don't bootleg it the first time. Go take the money out of your pocket, go see it. If you need to go see it at matinee to save a couple bucks, I understand times are tough right now, but just support black art, man. And I don't mean to, pressure you or anything like that. But yes, if you want more movies like Sinners to be made, which if you haven't seen it, you don't know you do. But once you pay your money and go see Sinners, if you haven't done it already, once you pay your money and go see it, you will understand why it's important to support movies like this so that more of them can be made. That is my message. Thank you. Have a nice day.